Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, July the 31st. We're going to cover our first, sort of quote-unquote big slate for the return of NBA. We only had a two-gamer on Thursday night, but for Friday we have a six-game slate on Draftkings that starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then over on Yahoo, we have a five-game slate that starts at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Pretty much going to have games all day. When one game finishes, the next one's going to start, and that's going to happen from 2:30 in the afternoon all the way up until 9 o'clock at night. It's kind of like the Christmas Day slate where you have like one game after the other. That's kind of going to be the case today. You're going to have basketball on all day, which will be great for entertainment purposes. You got some good late-night games as well, especially that one between the Rockets and the Mavericks. So if you're someone that works, you'll be able to catch that game late 9 o'clock at night. Make sure you take note of the afternoon lock time. If you are somebody that works, make sure you get those lineups in right before log. Make sure you got guys in there that are playing. Check the news throughout the day. News is always very important, and it's going to be very important during these regular seeding games, especially because some teams may not really have anything to play for, so you might see some late scratches or maybe guys on minutes restrictions just because some teams don't have something to play for. I'll be sure to touch on that throughout this video, talk through the guys that I like the most at each position. Obviously, I'm not going to hit on every single player. I'll just try and touch on the guys that really stand out to me looking at this slate on Thursday night. These are kind of my first looks. We'll talk about DraftKings pricing. We'll hit on some guys I do like over on Yahoo as well. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe as well. Click that subscribe button. I have a ton of content coming out. I'm going to be uploading 2 videos a day with MLB and NBA both going on right now. I'm going to be getting videos up daily for both those sports. Once my NBA video goes up on Thursday night, I'll have my MLB video posted probably a couple hours after that. So if you catch the NBA video on Thursday night when I upload it, check out my MLB video as well for Friday night. That'll be up shortly after this one. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at point guard for today. We got two options over 10K on DraftKings. We got James Harden and Luka Doncic. James Harden, 11K against the Mavericks. And then on the other side of that game, you have Luka for 10-5 against the Rockets. So Luka is someone that I like quite a bit here. I think he's one of my favorite pay-up options on the slate. Just looking at this slate the night before, he's the guy that really stands out to me and really catches my eye. So Dallas does have something to play for. If they win some of these games, they can move up in the seeding in terms of like playoff seeding. I expect Luka to be full go, to play his normal, 34, 36 minutes. I don't know if he's going to play 40 minutes like he was some games, but I think 34 to 36 minutes seems pretty likely here for Luka. Luka's obviously an absolute stud. I mean, this season in terms of fantasy, he's been an absolute stud. Usage rate, I believe it's like over 40% or close to it. We saw during the regular season back in like February and March, we saw Kristaps was missing some games. Luka would just absolutely go nuts in those games. Even with playing alongside Kristaps, Luka still has elite numbers. I mean, 37% usage rate this season, averaging 1.56 fantasy points per minute. His assist percentage is at 44.6%. Really good rebounding percentage as well, near 15% total rebound percentage. This is a guy that has triple-double upside every time he steps on the floor. I like the matchup a lot against the Rockets. The Rockets are a team that plays at an incredibly fast pace. During the regular season, they were 4th in pace in terms of pace of play. The Mavericks, I believe, were middle of the pack. Yeah, they were 18th in pace. So this is definitely a pretty big pace-up spot for them here. This game, I believe, also has one of the highest totals on the slate. It's definitely going to be a game I want to get some exposure to. At 10-5 on DraftKings, looking over to Yahoo, $53 over there. I like Luka a lot today in this spot. I expect him to be full go, expect him to play his full minutes, and 10-5 is definitely a little bit of a discount for a guy that, during the season was putting up 55 to 60 DraftKings points pretty much every night. Almost feels like his floor. And in a matchup like this against a fast-paced team, there's definitely 70, potentially even 80-point upside for Luka here. So really like Luka. I do prefer him over Harden. You do have Westbrook for $9,400, which I think is a very nice price tag. You also have Damian Lillard for $9,300 in a really good fast-paced game against Memphis. Choosing between Westbrook and Lillard, I think I would give the slight edge to Lillard. I like that matchup a lot against Memphis. Memphis, another team that plays at a very fast pace. They were 7th in pace this season. This is a game that should have a lot of scoring. I think it also has one of the highest totals on the slate. It might actually have the highest total right now. Portland was also towards the top of the league in pace. They were 11th. Definitely a good spot for Damian Lillard. I'm pretty sure Portland is like on the edge of making the playoffs. I'm pretty sure they're like 9th or 10th. So they're definitely going to be fighting for that 8 seed or just fighting to get in. So I expect Lillard to be full go, to play his full allotment of minutes. I do like him quite a bit at 9,300. If you're not going to Luka, I think he's my next favorite pay-up option. But then when we get down to some of these mid-range plays, a guy that I like a lot in the mid-range is John Morant. John Morant, 7K on DraftKings. Pretty nice price over on Yahoo as well at $30. He's someone I'm going to have a lot of interest in today. Looked great during the Grizzlies scrimmages. Looks like in their most recent scrimmage, he put up 22 points, 12 assists in only 28 minutes. I think we're going to see Morant probably get 32 to 34 minutes here. I mean, if he was playing 28 minutes in scrimmages, I don't see any reason he would play less than that in an actual game. I think we get 30, 32 minutes or 32, 34 minutes from Ja Morant. I mean, before the season got shut down, like he was getting 32, 31, 35 minutes. In games that were close, he was playing upper third or lower 30s. This is a great matchup against Portland. Big time pace up spot here. Blazers, like I said, play at a pretty fast pace. They're 11th in pace this season. In terms of defensive rating, they were also one of the worst defensive teams in the league, 27th in defensive rating. Great spot for some of these Grizzlies guys. Great spot for John Morant. I'm pretty sure that Memphis, another team that, I'm pretty sure they're in the they're the 8th seed right now, or they're maybe the 9th seed. I honestly can't remember. They do have something to play for here. They need to, stay in the playoffs, stay in like the whatever it is, the cutoff line. They need to get that 8th seed or 7th seed, whatever. Make sure they get their spot. So I expect them to be full go here to play their guys their full allotment of minutes. And at 7K, have a good amount of interest in John Morant. I do prefer him over guys like CJ McCollum and Ricky Rubio. Kemba Walker seems cheap, but he's going to be on a minutes limit, so we don't want to go to him. But then other point guards, so LaMarcus Aldridge is not going to play for the Spurs. He decided to opt out, I believe, or he's hurt. I honestly can't remember. That is a little bit of a boost for Dejounte Murray. Murray does get a boost when you take LaMarcus Aldridge off the floor. Gets a small boost in his usage rate and his fantasy production. At 6,100, he is pretty closely priced to Morant, so I think I would try and get up to Morant if possible. But I did want to mention Murray in that mid-range. Shabazz Napier as well, definitely worth targeting. The Wizards are just going to be so depleted. Davis Bertans is not playing for the Wizards. Bradley Beal is not playing for the Wizards. I mean, Beal, their highest usage player, you take him off the floor. That's a lot of usage to go around. You kind of see it already in the pricing. I mean, Rui Hachimura is 7,400. Like, these guys did get priced up. You could argue that some of them, though, might still be too cheap. I think Napier at 5,700 is a little bit too cheap. I mean, this is a guy that has 40-point upside. He averages over a fantasy point per minute. We saw him put up 51 DK points against Miami. I mean, 38 against the Knicks. This is a guy that has upside. It's a really good matchup against the Suns. I like him as well in that mid-range at 5,700. And then if we're looking for value at point guard, so Chris Chiozza, he could be a guy worth targeting as a value play. Right now, the Nets are going to be another team that's going to be injury depleted, that's going to be missing some guys. Spencer Dinwiddie is not playing. Kyrie Irving is not playing. That's two of their point guards that won't be out there for this game. I'm not sure what their starting lineup is going to look like, but there's a good chance that we see Chris Chiozza in the starting lineup. And if that's the case, for 3,900, I'm going to really like him as a value play if he starts. This is the first game on the slate on DraftKings, so we will have their starting lineup before lock. We should have their starting lineup before lock. Definitely something to keep an eye on. If he gets like mid to upper 20s in minutes at under 4K, he's going to be a really good value play. I'm not going to plug him into the early core right now. I'll make some changes to that over on Patreon. If you guys want to get my updated thoughts on the slate, my updated core plays, just my more up-to-date thoughts, I do post that over on Patreon. I give updated core plays over there. I do a full slate breakdown article. I will have an article for this slate posted on Patreon a couple of hours before lock. So check all that out. Link down in the description. But I think that's probably it for point guard for me. Just looking at this slate the night before, if I missed anybody, I'll be sure to go more in depth at the position over on Patreon and talk more about that. But let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now. So looking at the shooting guard position, I think there's one play that really stands out here, and that's Karis LeVert. So Karis LeVert, 7,800 on DraftKings, got somewhat priced up for Kyrie and Dinwiddie being out, but still didn't get priced up enough. We're going to take a look at his numbers this season with both Dinwiddie and Kyrie off the floor. I mean, his usage is going to absolutely skyrocket, I would assume. DeAndre Jordan also going to be out for the Nets. That's another guy they're going to be missing. So we'll take Dinwiddie, Kyrie, and Jordan off the floor. and just see what Karis LeVert's usage looks like. So he has played 69 minutes this season with all three of those guys off the floor. Has a 33% usage rate, averaging 1.18 fantasy points per minute, 29.7% assist percentage, 8% total rebound percentage. Pretty solid numbers overall. I believe he does get a big bump in usage. Let's see if I can find LeVert. So he gets a 3.2% bump in his usage rate, 0.05 fantasy points per minute more. I mean, this is a guy that showed like massive upside. He had some 60-point games before the season got shut down. Like he had, I think 60. Yeah, or he had 3 60-point games in his last 10 games. Like, LeVert has massive upside. Against Orlando, like, that's not the best matchup. Orlando's good defensively. They play at a slow pace, but LeVert is just going to get all the usage here. Should get big minutes as well. It's 7,800. I'm going to be all over him on Draftkings. Now, Yahoo does not have that game on their main slate, so we don't need to talk about LeVert over there. But Draftkings, where they had the Orlando-Brooklyn game in their main slate, I love Karis LeVert. It's 7,800. I think he's clearly one of the top plays on this slate. But I think that's probably it for like mid-range options. Like I would definitely play LeVert over McCollum today. Even though I know LeVert's going to be more popular, I just think he has way more upside. Napier, we talked about at 5,700. You could look to go to. Buddy Hield feels a little bit too cheap at 5,200. Not really sure what his minutes are going to look like. I mean, he was definitely in a bit of a slump before the season got shut down. I mean, he just wasn't showing a ton of upside. His minutes seemed to be limited too. He was only playing about 24 to 26 minutes. At 5,200 though, that's a pretty nice price tag on Buddy Hield, so I don't mind going to him at the mid-range at shooting guard. Eric Bledsoe is going to be out for the Bucks, so maybe Dante DiVincenzo gets more time. Maybe he starts. At 4,900 though, like his price is not that cheap. If he was like maybe 4K or in the threes, I would have some more interest, but nearly 5K, I don't think you really need to go there today. One guy I do like, however, that I like a lot is Troy Brown. So Troy Brown's a really good value, 4,700 on DraftKings. He's the minimum salary over on Yahoo. Without Bradley Beal, without Davis Bertans, I mean, Troy Brown should just get all the usage with Beal off the floor. This is a guy that even playing alongside Bradley Beal showed upside. I mean, he had some 30-point games in there. He's a guy that normally plays about 30 minutes. I think without Beal and without Bertans, I mean, that just should solidify him for even more minutes. But we're going to take a look at his numbers this season with Beal and Bertans off the floor. I know he gets a big boost. Let me pull the numbers up just real quick so you guys can see them. I'm pretty sure he averages over a fantasy point per minute, if I'm not mistaken. So Troy Brown, with those two guys off the floor, has a 22.3% usage rate, averaging over a fantasy point per minute. I know there's going to be some of these guys, like Jordan McRae, I could take him off the floor because he's no longer on the Wizards. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Isaiah Thomas is not going to be playing either. I'm pretty sure he opted out, so he's not going to be playing. Let me take a look at Washington real quick. So they're going to be without Beal, obviously without John Wall, no Bertans. Garrison Matthews, I'm pretty sure he's hurt. Gary Payton is listed as questionable. He tested positive on Thursday, did not travel with the Wizards, so Gary Payton's going to be out too. They're going to be down another body. And I believe, Isaiah Thomas, I don't even think he's on the Wizards anymore. I can't even remember, honestly, but it should just be all the usage should go to Troy Brown here. He's going to, in my opinion, going to be one of the guys we want to target from this Washington team. Going to be like the guy that does all the heavy lifting without Beal. Him, Napier, Rui, I think are the three guys that I like the most from Washington. But I mean, if you want to go to like Thomas Bryant, if he can get minutes, like he could be a really good value. This is definitely a Wizards team. I'm going to have a good amount of interest here with all the value we have. I mean, losing Bradley Beal just takes such a high usage player off the floor. There's so much usage to go around. Beal was a guy that played big minutes, so those are minutes that are going to go around as well. Really like Troy Brown here at shooting guard, but I think that's it for shooting guard plays in terms of value. If I missed any, I'll try and hit on those on Patreon. If I maybe missed over someone, I'll go more in depth over there in my article. But let's go ahead and take a look at small forward now. So at small forward, you obviously can play Troy Brown here. You can play Karis LeVert here. I do like DeMar DeRozan quite a bit. So DeRozan, 7,700 on DraftKings. We do already know that LaMarcus Aldridge is going to be out. He's already, I can't remember if he opted out or if he's hurt, but he is not going to be going for the Spurs. That is a pretty high usage player. I mean, I think that's their second highest usage player behind DeMar DeRozan. Taking a look at DeRozan's numbers with Aldridge off the floor this season, 30% usage rate, averages 1.2 fantasy points per minute, 29.6% assist percentage. Those are very good numbers from DeRozan. Sees a 3% bump in usage, 0.08 fantasy points per minute more. I really like DeRozan here. I think he's definitely a guy you could go to. I do prefer Karis LeVert straight up. LeVert's only $100 more. If I can play LeVert, I like him more, like if I can get to LeVert. But like on Yahoo, where that game's not on the slate, I think DeRozan at $36 a small forward looks like a really good option. Obviously, I'm going to be playing a lot of Troy Brown at this position because I think he's just such a good value on Yahoo. I'm sure I'll have some lineups, though, where I do go with DeRozan and maybe Brown together. I do like DeRozan quite a bit, 7,700. It's going to be interesting to see what the Spurs do with their guys. I think they have a chance to make the playoffs. Let me read this blurb right here. DeRozan may be for the first few games, given his mentally. Yeah, so I guess for the first few games, they'll have to see. If they go out there and win like their first few games and maybe some teams lose and they have a chance to make the playoffs, we could see DeRozan play huge minutes. I assume he's going to get his normal minutes the first few games. Maybe that'll tamper down depending on where they fall in the standings. But for now, I'm assuming that he plays his full minutes, so I do like him a good amount at 7,700. Jonathan Isaac, 5,800, was a guy that I played a lot of this season. He just has so much upside. He's listed as questionable, but I do believe he's going to play. I know he's been playing in the scrimmages, and he's looked really, really good in limited time. I'm just reading this blurb right here. He had 13 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 assist in just 7 minutes. Dude absolutely went nuts in limited time. If he's not limited today, I mean, Jonathan Isaac is a guy that I like a lot. I think he has so much upside. He went to Florida State, which is, as you can see on this shirt, the school I'm like a fan of. That's my favorite college or favorite, team, I guess, in terms of rooting for a college team. I like Jonathan Isaac a ton at 5,800 if he's not limited. That'll be some news we have to wait and see on, though. This is a 2:30 game, the first game on the slate, so we will know that before lock. Maybe with LaMarcus Aldridge out, Trey Lyles also going to be out for the Spurs. We could consider someone like Rudy Gay, especially if Gay were to slide into the starting lineup. I would like him a good amount at 5,300. Talked about Buddy Hield earlier, 5,200 you could consider. Maybe Cam Johnson, since Kelly Oubre is going to be out. We could maybe go there as a value. He's definitely going to be someone I probably have in my player pool if I wound up playing multiple lineups today, which I'm sure I will. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about power forward now. So at the power forward position, you do have Giannis at the top. I like Giannis quite a bit here. He's definitely a little bit underpriced at 10.5. I mean, Giannis was just an absolute stud during the regular season before everything got shut down, giving you 50, 55 Draftkings points at the worst. I mean, his floor was pretty much 50, 55 DK points. Eric Bledsoe is going to be out for the Bucks, so that is a boost for Giannis. He does see a small bump in his usage and fantasy production when you take Bledsoe off the floor. I am a bit concerned, though, with his minutes. The Bucks, I'm pretty sure they have really nothing to play for. I think they could lose all their games during these seeding games, and they would still be the 1 seed. We'll have to see here. Maybe we'll get some word on Friday what his minutes are going to look like. If we don't get word, I just assume he plays full minutes. But I guess it could be something, you could be a little hesitant on. I would not be surprised if Giannis goes out there and plays 36 minutes against the Celtics. If it's a competitive game, I wouldn't be surprised if they play him, 28 minutes. Just because they don't really need to win these games. I mean, they can rest Giannis a little bit. That's why I do prefer someone like Luka at the same price. I think Luka's just locked into the minutes. Dallas has something to play for. So he's a guy that I do prefer over Giannis, just straight up. DeAndre Ayton, I like quite a bit at 7,900. Great spot against the Wizards. He has power forward eligibility on Draftkings, which makes him incredibly appealing. You don't have to use one of your center spots for him. Like you have a lot of flexibility there. I mean, the Wizards were one of the worst teams defensively versus bigs. They were one of the worst rebounding teams as well. A big-time pace-up spot, or I wouldn't say pace-up spot. It's just going to be a fast-paced game. I mean, the Suns, 9th in pace this season. The Wizards, 5th in pace. Both these teams are top 10 in that regard, so should expect a lot of points here. This is a game I'm just going to have a lot of interest in general. I do like Ayton quite a bit at 7,900. Rui Hachimura is expensive, but I would not be scared to play him at 7,400, especially on Yahoo. Yahoo really didn't price up Rui. He's only $23 over there. He's cheaper than guys like Robert Covington and Gordon Hayward. I love Rui Hachimura on Yahoo at $23. I think he looks like an exceptional option at the power forward position in that mid-range. I do want to take a look at his numbers this season with Bradley Beal off the floor. I know he gets a bump in usage, as you would expect. We can take Beal off the floor because he's going to be out. I mean, we can take Payton off because he's going to be out. Bertans is going to be out as well. I guess we could take Garrison Matthews off too because he's going to be out for the Wizards. They're going to be missing a lot of guys here. Going to be pretty thin in general. This season, with all those guys off the floor, Rui's only played 17 minutes, so might want to maybe put some of those guys back on the floor. We'll just take Bertans and Beal off and see what his numbers look like. can't really get much of a sample size, only 17 minutes. You don't really want to go off of that. So let's see. He's played only 17 minutes with Beal and Bertans. So let's just take Beal off and see what his numbers look like. I would expect he's got a decent sample size with Beal off the floor. So Rui has played 88 minutes with Beal off the floor, just a 0.59 fantasy points per minute, just a 20% usage rate. That really doesn't feel like sustainable numbers, especially because, I mean, they're without Jordan McRae too. I guess we could take Jordan McRae off the floor because he's, I mean, not on this team anymore. And he is a high usage player, so let's take him off and see if we get a difference in the numbers for Rui. We might not. I mean, especially during the beginning of the regular season, like Rui was not having the best season, but he really turned it on like in February and March. Take a look at his game log. I know game log really doesn't mean nothing right now, but I mean, was putting up 35 DK points, giving you 30 DK points, pretty much almost close to that, at least 29, 26, 35, 24, 27. And that was with Bertans and Beal both playing. You take those guys off the floor, I would expect the production, the point per minute production to really spike for Rui. He's looked really good in their scrimmages so far. I like him a lot on Yahoo, and even on DK at 7,400, I wouldn't be scared to go to him at that price. Obviously, I'm much more hesitant. Like, I would rather try and maybe get up to DeAndre Ayton if you can, but definitely Yahoo. I mean, $23 for Rui looks like a great option at power forward. But other potential plays we could go to here, like I mentioned, Rudy Gay, if he winds up starting with no Aldridge, with no Trey Lyles, he could be interesting at 5,300. Jaren Jackson looks really good at 4,900. Going to be interesting to see what his minutes are like. I assume he's going to be at normal minutes. I mean, this is a guy that has, 35, 40-point upside. He just needs to stay out of foul trouble. This is an elite matchup against Portland. Talked about it earlier, how bad Portland is defensively, how they do play at a fast pace. I do like Jaren Jackson quite a bit at 4,900. Cam Johnson, we mentioned you can maybe go to. But yeah, I think that's it. At least looking at the slate the night before. I'll do more digging on Friday when I write my article over on Patreon. I'll give some updated core plays over there as well you guys can check out. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to center. Hit on the center position real quick just before we end the video. So at the top here, we got Kristaps Porzingis, 8,600 against Houston. I mean, I like Porzingis a lot here against Houston. Houston right now is playing just small ball. I assume they're going to continue to run out PJ Tucker at center. That's what they were doing during February and March. I assume that's what they do today. Against Porzingis, like, he should absolutely dominate in that matchup. I think he has played Houston multiple times this season. Yeah, he's faced Houston twice. During the regular season, he averaged 53.9 DK points against them, just really dominated in this matchup. For 8,600, I don't know if I'm going to consider him like a core play, a top play for me at the center position. There's some really good options in the mid-range. There's some value here that I like. But definitely a guy I'm going to get in my player pool and I'll have exposure to. I do plan on playing multiple lineups for this slate. Not really sure how many I'm going to play, probably maybe 10 or 20. I will for sure have exposure to Porzingis. I just don't think he's going to be like a guy I go really heavy on. I like the upside, though, against Houston. Vucevic, another guy I have interest in against Brooklyn. I mean, that's just one of the best matchups you can get. Brooklyn, in terms of defending centers, in terms of fantasy points allowed to the center position, has always been bad. And losing DeAndre Jordan, I don't expect them to be any better. So I like Vucevic a lot at 45 or 8,500. Choosing between him and Porzingis, if I could only play one, I think I would give the edge to Porzingis. But I like Porzingis and Vuce quite a bit. Do prefer them over Whiteside, especially now that Nurkic is healthy. We don't really know what Whiteside's minutes are going to look like. I don't think he's going to be playing the big minutes he was getting beforehand. Like, Whiteside was playing 32, 34 minutes, sometimes like 40 minutes a night. That's just not going to be the case now that Yusuf Nurkic is healthy. So I'll probably be off the Portland bigs. Just want to see how that rotation works. I have a feeling they're probably going to split the center minutes evenly. And 8,100, 5,900, that just makes me have no interest in either guy. But I talked about 8 and talked about Rui. You could go to Jared Allen, someone I like quite a bit in this mid-range. No DeAndre Jordan for the Nets. He's just going to have to play a ton of minutes. They really have no other bigs that they can turn to. When Jared Allen gets the minutes, he's put up huge games. Like, whenever Jordan missed some games during the regular season, like, Allen would usually always play 30 minutes at the minimum and give you 35, 40 DK points sometimes. Against Orlando, I mean, that's not the best spot. Orlando, like I said earlier, good defensive team, plays at a slow pace, but Allen just has so much upside, and now that he's going to be getting the minutes without DeAndre Jordan taking minutes away from him, even with the price coming up to 5,800, I still like Jared Allen quite a bit. And then the last guy I want to talk about at center in terms of a value option, Jakob Poeltl, I think, is one of the clear values today. He's 4,700 on Draftkings. He is incredibly cheap over on Yahoo, only $13. We already know that the Spurs are not going to have LaMarcus Aldridge. They're also going to be without Trey Lyles. they're going to be incredibly thin in their front court. And Pirtle's a guy, when he gets minutes, he can be productive. And this is a spot where I would expect the minutes to be there with no Aldridge, no Lyles. We saw when Pirtle would make some spot starts when Aldridge was out. Most nights he would get like 30 minutes, 32 minutes without Aldridge. And you would get, 30 Draftkings points, 35 DK points from him. He's a point per minute player. I do want to take a look at his numbers this season with Aldridge off the floor, just so you guys can see that he averages over a fantasy point per minute. Pretty good rebounder too, so he's a guy that can easily go out there and get you a double-double. He's played 865 minutes this season with LaMarcus Aldridge off the floor, averaging 1.21 fantasy points per minute, 17.2% total rebound percentage, which is second highest on the team, only behind Chimezie Metu. So really like Pirtle here. I think he's one of the top values. Even with the price up to $4,700, he's still a guy that I like a ton. I think 6x value, 30 DK points is easily in the range of outcomes for him. I think he has like 40-point upside though. Like I would not be surprised to see Pirtle go out there and get you 17 points, 13 rebounds, 2 blocks, and finish with like 40 DK points or 35 DK points. Against the Kings, I do like that spot too. Kings, I think they're a team that normally plays big. They usually have one of Rashawn Holmes. I'm not sure if Dwayne Dedmon's playing. I think he might have opted out to play. And I know Marvin Bagley's healthy. Yeah, I think Dedmon's out. That's going to be interesting. I didn't talk about Rashawn Holmes, but he might be like the last big that they have. No Marvin Bagley, no Dwayne Dedmon. He could maybe start here. If Rashawn Holmes does start, I'm going to like him a lot as a value option. I still prefer Pirtle for cheaper, but definitely keep an eye on that. Who Sacramento is going to wind up starting at center. I'm pretty sure Alex Lin's also out. Yeah, Alex Lin's also out. So they have, in terms of bigs, they have Bielitsa still. They have Rashawn Holmes, but no Alex Lin, no Marvin Bagley, and no Dwayne Dedmon either. Like Dedmon's on the Hawks. I forgot about that. I forgot he got traded. So yeah, they really only have Bielitsa and Holmes as their two bigs. I guess Harry Giles is a backup. The minutes should be there for Rashawn Holmes. I assume he probably starts at center, and if that's the case, 5,100, definitely an interesting option along with Pirtle. I think I would prefer Pirtle straight up, but keep your eye on that starting lineup for the Kings. We won't have it before lock, but as news comes out throughout the day, you have late swap. I know FanDuel's offering late swap now, so you'll be able to make adjustments. Even though this is the last game or one of the last games on the slate, you'll still be able to adjust your lineups if something changes. But yeah, guys, I think that's kind of it for center. I think I covered everything, talked about most of the guys that I see the night before. I'll dive deeper into the slate on Friday morning when I write my article. I'll probably have that posted around 11, 12 a.m. on Friday a.m. Eastern time. Get it up a couple hours before lock, and about an hour or two before lock, I'll also have some updated core plays posted on Patreon for this NBA slate. I will also have some MLB content over there. I'll have an MLB video up later after this one goes up, so be sure to check that out. Hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, hit that like button down below. Before we get out of here, make sure you subscribe as well. Would greatly appreciate that. Hit the notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. If you haven't yet, you can also follow me on Twitter, which is linked down below. Check out the Patreon content linked down below too. And I think that's it, guys. Best of luck today. Hope you win some money. Good luck, guys. Peace.